You have the advantage of having Google and the major infrastructure of that organization behind you when you're developing these new products, developing new regions, developing new customer bases. What's fascinating, though, is with the arrival and evolution of the operating system of the connected television, you're creating a new space, a new sector, a new segment of entertainment. What is that segment? I mean, to a certain extent, it's software and operational and discovery, but on the other hand, it's much more than that. It is, for all intents and purposes, the user experience, the user interface. You know, from an economic standpoint and from a theoretical standpoint, what defines this new segment that's emerging?
I don't know how new it is or if it's a shift. I mean, US focused, you could look at it as the software, the connected TV platforms are the new distributors, right? We are the new operators, if you will. Whereas, you know, and we're starting to see obviously that dwindle of the sort of stranglehold of the classic sort of cable MVPD operator delivering the interface, delivering the entertainment. Now you're starting to see much more of a balance, if not a complete tipping point, where it's really the CTV platforms that are bringing that entertainment to you. So the entertainment experience itself isn't really changing. It's the same content, but it's the delivery mechanism is shifting. Both the physical delivery of a box versus now a TV, satellite, broadband, you know, a broadcast versus now broadband. And then the interface that you're interacting with is quite different, right? Dare I say, clunkier old boxes, and now, admittedly, sometimes a clunkier TV. I mean, you're seeing the smart TV ecosystem is not where mobile is, right? The power of these TVs is a little bit behind where we see tablets, phones, et cetera. But we are still able to do things interactively on those smart TV that you weren't able to do in the cable ecosystem. So I don't know that it's a new entertainment experience as much as it's just shifted the delivery of it, both the actual mechanism to deliver the bits and also the device that you're interacting on. You mentioned the economics. That's slightly different. You're not paying big subscription packages to get this. You're paying it more in sort of micro subscriptions to the individual apps and maybe to a pay TV provider like a YouTube TV or a Hulu or someone like that. And then there's the sort of ad-supported component of it that, again, has shifted. It's not that it didn't exist. TV with ads is probably from the time we were all born. I mean, that's what we had. And now you have that again, but who's delivering the ads, how the targeting of the ads happens, the experience, that has now shifted. And it's the CTV platforms that are taking a more playing a bigger role there than you know, different roles in the past.
And that bigger role, as you said, is kind of like the new age MVPD, the new age aggregator, as I like to call them, collaborators, right? But ostensibly in this new model, where we went from a fee-based distribution model to one that's much more around rev share and when boats rise, all boats rise, right? That's ostensibly what we're trying to build right now. It does not always seem that the interests of all the players are as aligned, given those circumstances, that the interests of all these players are as aligned as one might imagine they would be. There does seem to be this the walled gardenness of it all that creates this paradox of choice amongst the platforms that complicates the user experience. A, what's your take on that? And B, do you see a pathway to better aligning the interests of all these players so that the interests and needs of the consumers are better met?
It's tough because at the end of the day, people have bottom lines to hit, right? They have goals that they need to hit. I do think FAST has played a huge role in the sort of rising of tides, right? At the end of the day, it doesn't really make any sense to be exclusive. If you're a FAST provider, you want to be as wide as you can. You want as much reach, much visibility. I think it was interesting hearing Scott talk earlier. People are a little less precious about their experience when you're in the FAST and advertising supported world because you want that experience. You want people to glom onto your experience and you want to be the brand and you want to attract them. But you're probably okay if someone consumes your content elsewhere inside of a native connected TV platform, for instance. We do that where we aggregate, classic Google, we aggregate as much information as we can, as much entertainment as we can, and we expose it to the user right in the interface. If you choose to launch an app, that's great too. But what we've seen is pretty tremendous incremental reach where users that knew about that app, that downloaded that app and launched that app, that user's already been reached, right? Your marketing expense to convert that person was well, there's good return there. But then what we're doing is by bringing that content forward, we're bringing in new folks that maybe wouldn't have known to download a Pluto app or a Tubi app. And now they're getting incremental viewing as a result of that. So to me, that's probably the best example where the tide actually lifts everybody. We get some benefit from that by using our interface to help discover content. The partner's getting incremental viewing. So everybody's sort of winning there. Now, there's our platform versus the other platform, et cetera. And then in that case, you're really not fighting as much as you're trying to put the best experience out, the best brand out in hopes that whoever landed on your TV today in 2 to 4 to 5 to 6 years when they buy another, that they're gonna buy that same platform or buy a second of that platform. But ultimately, I do really believe it is a rising tide. I think the biggest influencer of that tide is when dollars start moving from linear over to connected. And then all these folks, as you call them, the collaborators, in the CTV space, eventually we might be all kind of fighting for the last bits of share. But for now, we're all sort of helping, boats in the water waiting for that tide to come in.